Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. It's another episode of the Tone Tailors Podcast. And as you can see, we're back here in the shop early morning again. And of course, I'm joined by our special guest this week. We have none other than Matt Hostetter. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me.
So you have, we were just talking a little bit off camera. You have so many ventures, so many avenues that we are going to discuss and venture down.
We've got a lot of ground we could cover.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. So let's start. Let's just start with the biggest one. You are one of how many owners of Zoetropolis?
So there's 5 of us who are managing partners in the business, meaning we have some amount of oversight to the operations of the business on a day-to-day basis, but my role historically has centered around the live music aspect of the theater, although I have spent time doing pretty much everything there, from working on the line in the kitchen to behind the bar
hands.
to everything.
It's okay. So let's get into I want to start with the business aspect of it. Is this your first time being a business owner? Did you have experience before, or you just kind of took a risk? When did this start for you?
So I guess it would be the first time, but it started. So I graduated from college in 2013, and I worked in finance initially. So primarily doing like investment management, financial planning, that sort of thing. And the firm that I was with catered to entrepreneurs and business owners primarily. Okay. So over the years that I spent in that line of work, I met with, a few hundred different business owners of varying industries and maturities. And by the end of it, I just started to feel like, I wanted to be on the other side of the table. Mm-hmm. And am I looking at you, or do you want me looking at the camera, by the way?
It's okay. You're okay. Yeah, we're just having a conversation.
Yep, cool.
Either way. It's
cool. Okay. But yeah, so that was about 4 or so years, 4.5 years, doing that for work, and started to feel that itch a little bit, like feel like I want to do something entrepreneurial myself. Yeah. So that led to me and Todd Smith, who's one of my partners in Zoetropolis, joining up with Mike Newman and Mike Musser, who were the owners at the time of a recording studio called The Sugar Tank, which way back in the day originated in the Keppel building and then was in the basement of Telus 360 for a while, where on Shabine, the Speakeasy, is now. And then we moved up to the former FM 97 studio above the liquor store on Queen Street.
Yep.
And Todd and I felt like we wanted to kind of do something else together in business. And what we landed on was an idea for a consulting business that focused primarily on working with creatively inclined businesses or artists, creative individuals who could just maybe use a little bit of help administratively, operationally, running them. Basically, you're a business as an artist, right? And a lot of times those things don't go hand in hand super well. They're just kind of conflicting skill sets. Yeah. Also, this is
a recurring pattern on this show. It's something that a lot of our guests, much like yourself, have come to realize, and just I think one of the biggest kind of maybe next steps or chapters for most artists is the business aspect of it. And I mean, even in my own world of friends and family, of people like accountants and people who were photographers who were like, Levi, I want to do this like forever and make money doing my craft. And I'm like, okay, do you know how to run a business? Like whether you're a guitarist or a venue or an artist, you have to be ready and capable to wear those hats at any point in time, to the point where, I mean, did you think that ever, when starting Zoetropolis, this entertainment music type of venue, you'd be the line cook? Like, you're an owner of the venue and you're on the line making what, mozzarella sticks? Like, what? That is something that people not only, I think, can mentally prepare themselves for, but when they get there, usually don't handle it. And I'm assuming you handled it, or handling it well, just because you have understood that sometimes I've got to book shows and sometimes I got to help in the back. And it's this unique kind of quality that I think a lot of people we've been talking to have, to kind of, once you realize that and are like, okay, well, I'm not just the photographer at this wedding. This is the bride's wedding. Something's wrong. Let me step out of my role and help.
Right.
Like, we need help in the back. Let me go work the line. Was that just kind of something you just kind of grew up with, that was instilled in you, or you kind of just quickly figured out, oh, this is the game?
Well, I guess you could say a little bit was of that sort of mindset was imparted on me in my environment growing up. Both my parents grew up on farms. They got married right after high school.
Yep.
I think they were 18 or 19. My dad grew up on a dairy farm. My mom grew up on a hog farm. And after they got married, my dad started working on on his father-in-law, my grandfather's farm.
Yep.
And over a period of several years, he had done pretty much everything there is to do related to hog farms, from managing the operations of the barn itself, the hog barns themselves, to transporting the hogs.
Yep.
I never worked in the business, so there's lots of other things that I'm sure he did.
Right,
but in any case, he got to know the hog business very well, and in doing so, was able to identify a lot of areas where particularly smaller independent farms were run inefficiently, and ways that he could help them to operationalize and standardize their businesses so that they could better compete with the larger sort of factory farms. So
almost kind of what you're trying to do with music and that kind of situation.
Well, I'm not sure. I guess my point is that I come from sort of an entrepreneurial family, and I feel like that approach and mindset is something that I was exposed to from a young age, and then was sort of reinforced as well through my first job out of college, where I was, just meeting with a ton of business owners and hearing their stories, and just sort of getting inside the mind of an entrepreneur.
Yeah, incredible. Now, for those who don't know, because the first time I was at Zoe, it wasn't a shock, but like, I wasn't aware of just the magnitude. Can you just describe, for someone coming there for the first time, like what they experience? Because correct me if I'm wrong, we've got a bar, restaurant, theater kind of situation, stage. Like, it's a whole thing,
a night
right?
out. Yeah, it's a night out in one location. I mean, you're right. There's a restaurant and bar and a venue that we program with anything from films to various live entertainment, from music to poetry, comedy, puppet shows.
Puppet shows.
Name it. So, and then we also have a distillery as well, Lancaster Distilleries. So the distillery is sort of another business in itself as well. But yeah, I mean, it's basically three businesses in one.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
There's a lot going on. But yeah, come out for dinner, go to the show, or go to a show, go grab a drink afterwards, talk about it.
Right.
But yeah, getting people together, that's kind of the goal, right? Getting people together in person to experience something
especially
real.
In this post kind of COVID world where we've been desperately trying to bring back live entertainment and meetups and just being face to face with a human being.
Yep. That's why I wanted to do this one in person
Yes,
instead of remotely. I mean, like, would encourage you to try to do that with as many guests as are willing to.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a whole nother thing when you can be in the room with someone and
Understood.
100% of that communication is transmitted, right? You're not losing the physical presence, the energy, the body language, all that. So.
It's the parasocial aspect of the internet is something I've only delved a little bit into, but it's quite something not to quite understand.
Yeah, for sure.
So is Zoetropolis, the location you're at now, you were at a previous spot before we just moved there?
Yeah, so there was actually 2 previous locations for Zoetropolis. And I was not involved from the very beginning. So just this past weekend, we celebrated 30 years of Zoetropolis.
Congrats.
And I've been involved for about a little over 10 of those 30. But Lee Lindsay, who's one of my partners, she started the first Zoetropolis, and that initial location was on Lemon Street, where the Boys and Girls Club is now. She and Lee, if you listen to this, or if she hears this later, I hope I don't screw up the origin story. But as I recall, she was and still is an artist, but she had a job at the time, basically renovating theaters around the country, and she would, be renovating some theater somewhere, and they would be getting rid of, I don't know, stuff that she felt was cool and could be repurposed. So that first Zoetropolis was sort of a mishmash of a bunch of stuff that was going to be discarded from theaters that were being renovated around the country. And she sort of built this, independent art house, in the location on Lemon Street, which was also her art studio at the time. And from there, Zoe moved to a building on the corner of James Street and Mulberry. It's a mixed use space there over near the Fridge. And then in 2016 was when when Todd and I got involved. And we moved to Water Street in 2018. But it was about a 2-year process to get from James Street over to Water, because that building was completely gutted and
so has moving then to more of the art district, has that changed like the vibe of the artists that you're booking there, or the kind of audience or guests you see at the restaurant? Or
well, it's certainly more central, more walkable, which is nice, but it's also kind of just a totally different business model as well. I mean, both previous locations were a lot more film heavy. And that's sort of also partly just a matter of like the pre-COVID world versus post-COVID world. Film distribution has changed a good bit. Streaming has changed things quite a bit as well.
Right.
So that's led to, the booking of a lot more live programming than prior Zoetropolis iterations had seen.
Okay. No, we're going to maybe as soon as we're done here off camera, I'm going to talk to you about movie theaters and how they work, because I'm sure you know. But is there a specific kind of style or genre of shows you guys have there, or is it just kind of the collective kettle of Lancaster and Central PA music?
It's a good mix. We have booked, pretty much every style in the book that I can think of. What I personally think works best in that room is stuff that's a little bit more stripped down, just because it's sort of a listening room style environment. There's not a bar in the room. Okay. There's not a lot of ambient noise in the room. It's pretty quiet and isolated. So it's
kind of like the opposite of like a Chameleon Club a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So you're not competing with a lot of background noise. It's, there are a lot of seats in there. There's a lot of couches and basically living room style furniture.
It's more of a sit down style.
There's a mix.
Yeah.
There can be a hybrid of standing room and seating, and depending on the show too, we may clear out that front section to leave space for standing, dancing, that sort of thing. But I've always felt that it does really well for music that is or performances, content that is highly dynamic and that requires sort of a keen ear. It requires full attention.
There's a uniqueness to it. Someone say, yeah. Are there challenges with that we live in a world, every single person I talk to on this podcast has a different, not maybe necessarily definition, but just like a unique experience when it comes to like going to a certain venue. Like one guy we talked to strictly just does just house parties because that's his style and that's where he believes he needs to be. And our Allie and Andrew, we just talked to a few weeks ago, they're performing at the Tanger outlets. So in a world where a park or even a parking lot or someone's basement can be a venue, what are some of the challenges you face, like getting just people through the door in that sense of
that's it.
Right.
That's the challenge. Getting people through the door is 100% the most important and most difficult part of putting on events. Attention is at an extreme premium right now. As someone who's trying to promote and book shows or live events, there's never been more competition for attention. And that's it. I mean, you nailed it. That's the hardest part.
Has what's worked over the years? I mean, is it Facebook ads? Is it just on the street handing out flyers? Is it, because I mean, we've on this podcast have literally heard it all.
Direct marketing is in my opinion and experience the most effective. I mean, you kind of have to do it all. You have to cover all your bases. But if you're relying purely on social media, I think you might end up being a little bit disappointed. I've tried to, because no one thinks about you as much as you think about yourself, right? So when you're putting together an ad or making a post or trying to promote something, you're always thinking like, oh, this is great. People are going to love this. Why isn't anybody
it's got 3 likes
interacting
on it.
with
it's
this?
Got 3 likes and my mom's one of them.
Yeah, exactly. So in using social media myself, I've sort of gone through the exercise of just like trying to really interact as I normally would, but be very conscious and aware of what I'm doing and be present. And I mean, it's kind of scary. Like the amount of content that the average person, I assume if I'm the average person, flips through in 5 minutes on, say, Instagram. I mean, it's baffling. And the amount of like seconds spent looking at something too. I mean, like a second to 3 seconds, maybe, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough. Collecting email addresses is really important.
Still the way, yeah.
Yeah. But if it's a tough nut to crack for sure. It's the that needs to be figured out. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
You just got to find a way to get directly to people.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, you have to just kind of do a little bit of everything. We got to send out the email, we got to make the blog post, the video, the clip, the promotion, the link, the sharing.
The thing that I could do a better job of, and there's a lot of stuff that's like perpetually on my list to try or do.
We've all got that same list. We've got that same list. Yes, sir. Yep.
But just like simple ticket promotions, need to do a better job for sure. Yep. If someone buys a ticket, and particularly getting people to buy advanced tickets is a big thing too. The more advanced tickets you can sell, I mean, one, it typically allows you to at least collect some information on the person buying the ticket, not in a insidious way, but it's like if there's a particular style of show that you're putting on, and you have 5 email addresses,
data,
people who went to that show, and you have another show coming up that is a very similar style, and you think, those people would probably also like this show. You got to do an email blast, building a room with an act who's maybe a touring act, doesn't have a local following, but you really believe in, you think are really great. That first show there, you might collect 5 or 6 email addresses, but then, you book them again 6 months later. You got to email those 5, 6 people, let them know that the person's coming back. Hopefully they come. Hopefully more people come. You collect more email addresses, and then 12, eventually you're up to 12, 30.
Now it's 50.
40.
Yep.
And you have to kind of accept that those first couple of shows might just be a little bit light, but it's to build a room. That's what you have to.
I think.
Do.
And I think we've all, if you haven't played for an empty room with just your friends and family in it, I mean, that's just not. That's like part of the hazing ritual. That's part of the journey. So, what do you look for? Is there like criteria? Do we got to be on Spotify? What's your like booking process like at Zoe? Is it easy? Is it kind of a challenge for bands or artists to get in? What do they need?
So it's interesting. There's certainly a lot of different ways to do it. Similar to the marketing, getting people in the door. There's a lot of different approaches. I don't know if any one approach is the right one.
Yeah.
I've taken the past year to 2 years. I've been very thankful for Ben Roth's role at Zoe. He's
friend of the show.
Yes, he is. He's stepped up a good bit to help book the room. Especially just again, I've had 3. My wife and I've had 3 kids in the past 4 years, and I've never been busier.
Yep.
Never dropped as many balls as I've dropped the past few years.
They'll do that to you,
yeah. Ben's help has been great. So, but historically, my approach was just bringing in acts that I personally liked.
Yep.
And trying to, and just kind of figuring it out. I never used much of a formula. I mean, I always at least check to ensure that they have some presence online. Even if a band is incredible, if they have no presence online, it's really hard to encourage people to come and see them if they have no way of vetting them before deciding to spend money and come to see them.
And we struggle with our own social media, so we'll give the bands a little less slack if they're busy playing. How would they be posting online? Yeah. Okay. So not necessarily an impossible task for maybe someone just starting out, or someone who's been in it in a couple of years, or maybe even an established band with 60 to 50 shows a year that they're doing. Good to know. Okay, good. Is there a show that just gave you chills, like a memory of a moment that you had there that was maybe just kind of overwhelmed you, or a moment? What was that?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a band that I like a lot called Circles Around the Sun.
Okay.
And I found out about them in 2015. So in 2015, the Grateful Dead celebrated their 50th anniversary and put on a series of shows out in Santa Clara, and then some shows at Soldier Field. They did some webcasts, live streams that you could tune into for those shows. And during set break, there was this music that was playing that was paired up with some cool visuals that Justin Kreutzmann, one of the drummers, Billy Kreutzmann's son, put together. And I just couldn't get over how much I love this music. It was just awesome. And I looked into it, and it was a guitar player who's one of my favorite guitar players named Neil Casal. He also played guitar with Ryan Adams and the Cardinals, and with Chris Robinson Brotherhood, he played lead guitar as well. He was one of my favorite guitar players, and he was sort of behind that music. He assembled the group of guys, and it was all just pretty much improvisational, on the spot. I just liked it. I don't know. There's something about it that just resonated with me. And a few years later, I got a call to the Sugar Tank voicemail. I got a message, and it was Neil Cassell.
Wow.
And he said, "Hi, I'm in town with Chris Robinson Brotherhood. We're playing at the Chameleon Club. I was looking for a studio to, just do this overdub for a friend of mine. He's got a song." And I was sort of like,
usually your dreams don't become a reality in the sense of them just knocking on your front door on a random Tuesday and saying, "Hey, I'm coming to see you." Mm-hmm. Like, did you shower?
It was incredible. A
voicemail, like you missed that call. I bet you kicked yourself in the head.
Yeah. But reached back out to him and was like, "Hey man, like,
wow.
Yeah, I know who you are."
Yeah.
For one, I was planning on coming to see the show to see you guys play. He was like, "Oh, great, man! Like, I'll put you on the list." But yeah, so I think it was the next day. Mm-hmm. I drove and picked him up at the hotel we were staying at and took him to the studio and did the overdub. And I was kind of like pinching myself the whole time because it was literally like a favorite guitar player of mine, and there he was just right in front of me in my studio recording. And so, but we wrapped up the session then, and then we just hung out for the rest of the night, walked around, got some food. And this was when I'm trying to remember what year this would have been, but it was very early Zoetropolis days. It was before the restaurant would have been opened, and the theater was either like barely operating or like about to be soon. But we went in there, I took him through, and we hung out in there for a while, and we played some music just through the PA and hung out. And
wow.
It kind of put the bug in his ear, like, "Hey, I would love to have you play here sometime." And he was like, "Yeah, let's do something." So anyway, like a year later, Circles Around the Sun was coming east. They were based out in California, but they were touring, and they did a show at Zoetropolis, and they did two after that, and those shows were just like,
I can imagine.
That's kind of pinnacle for me.
That's kind of like,
for sure.
Yeah, that's your. That's, I don't know. I don't even know what words to use to describe that, but I can only imagine is that like maybe not as close, but I feel like that's like a I made it moment, but like just a moment where you can sit there, take a deep breath and go, okay, whatever I'm doing is right. This is where I should be.
It was definitely special.
Yeah.
Very special.
Yeah.
It was special, and it was also one of the moments that was kind of eye-opening to me, just about like the economics of touring and playing in a band that like was famous to me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And spending time with those guys, obviously, and talking to them, and obviously being aware of what they were being paid to, and asking them how that compares to like, the rest of their stops on the tour, because I wanted to make sure too that we weren't just like, they weren't just like playing with us as like a charity, but it was something that actually made sense for them, and that it was sustainable for them to continue to play with us if they could, hit that same mark. And it's like they were a band for me that, again, like I listened to them at home all the time. I bought their vinyl. I was a fan. I went to see their shows.
Yep.
And it's like, man, they're still like, they're really just, they're grinding, Mm-hmm. They're working very hard, and to really sort of that like stereotypical, like rich and famous, like band or artists that were, I don't know. This was at least my perception growing up of like these bands that I was a fan of. It's like, oh, they must just be like killing it. Like, I don't know.
No one knows we're sleeping in a van, taking showers at the truck stop, bumming it to the next town. Like everyone thinks it's first class flights to the next city and caviar and a rider in the green room.
Yeah. And these guys are doing better than most too. It's not like I've but it sort of provided a new lens too for like, where do I want to go with my own music career? Is this something that I want to really push as my primary means of livelihood? Especially when I was like looking at starting a family myself, and it's like I had it was eye-opening in a number of ways.
Well, and that kind of naturally just leads us right into it then. So Zoetropolis, another full-time job on the belts, multiple children, and you're also in multiple bands projects.
Yeah, so I'm in two bands. I play some solo stuff.
You got it. It's a rule. You have to have at least two bands or projects plus your own solo stuff, or you're not a real musician. I'm convinced.
Yep. And so I play guitar and sing with the Quiet Riders. So that would be myself, Tuck Ryan, who's another friend of the show. Tuck Ryan. Caden Myers on bass, Josh Kanuski on drums, and more recently Jake Joyce joined as another guitar player in the band. And then I play with What Would Jerry Do? WWJD.
Okay.
That is myself, Caden Myers, Josh Kanuski, Jake Joyce.
Okay.
And then Nate Young on keys. Tuck sometimes joins and we do two keys and another vocalist. But
it's basically one big band.
It's and we play. We sort of have a monthly residency at Zoetropolis. We call it Steal Your Sunday, and it's typically the fourth Sunday of every month at about 2 p.m. And we play obviously primarily music from the Dead and Jerry Garcia band catalog, but we throw in a fair amount of curveballs that are adjacent to that music.
Okay.
And we also try to play it how we play it.
I was gonna say so it's more of like cover tribute type stuff. Any originals in there? Or?
Well, especially if Tuck's there too, and we have the whole Quiet Riders lineup plus Nate. We might throw in a Quiet Riders tune or two.
Yeah.
But yeah, our interpretation as well of that music. It's like it's not our goal to sound as much like the Dead as we possibly can. We sort of want to play it how we want to play it and put our own sort of style and interpretation on it.
That seems to be the path that most of the cover / tribute bands we've talked to kind of, they listen to the song once or twice and then boop, now you put your own spin on it. So it's I think that's just a huge percentage of the reason why people also just come and see and hear you. It's like, yes, we know the lyrics and most of the melody, but I really like the way you do this with this song.
Yeah.
Do you feel, is it a challenge for you, or is it easy performing as a band at your own venue? Is there like an underlining pressure there? I mean, what if the other owners see you and you're not that great?
A little bit. It's very comfortable now. I mean, it's been several years now of doing it. I would say it's more work than if I was playing somewhere else, because like I'm just responsible for more.
I gotcha. So any other venue, there's going to be someone running sound.
I can show up and just plug in and like do my thing, but in that case,
your
it's
job
like,
at that venue.
I have to make sure everything is right, and I got the visuals up, and like I put like I don't know.
At every other venue, that's someone else's job. That's such a good. Okay. And so then that just makes you're running around even more those days because now you have even more responsibilities.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas, do you have, what's your other go-to favorite venue to perform at other than obviously Zoe?
That's a good question. So one place that I've had a fun time playing at is well, do you mean anywhere?
Sure. Yeah. Whatever. The definition of the word venue is obscure, as we have come to learn.
So I'd say just my other favorite venue, private or public, is a place called Ed Rocks. It's out in Bethlehem.
Oh yeah.
Ed and
Yep.
Lois. We've played there.
Mhm.
I think probably. Actually, I'm fairly certain mentioned Ed Rocks when
Yes.
he was on.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, it's this lovely couple, Ed and Lois. They've got a beautiful property off the back of their house. They
That's
built
right. That's right. It's like an
really
outdoor
beautiful, like, yeah,
Coliseum kind of.
Yeah, they built up this cool bank and like leveled it off with like various plateaus, and there's all kinds of cool rock formations and like a waterfall that comes down through the middle, and these awesome like big rock sculptures, and yeah, they put on shows at their home there.
That's right.
And that's just the best in terms of like the crowd, the hospitality, the environment, all of it. It's just it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like a it sounds like a place I need to get to. Just even if no one's performing, I just want to see it. Does it being open and outside, like, does that create a challenge for a band, or is it just a decent sound system is okay, whether it's inside or outside? Is that a different sound? Do we have to adjust for that?
As far as what we're doing on stage, not really. I mean, I'd say that's more of a like front of house related question for whoever's mixing the show. In that case, when we play there, we do kind of mix our own show. We don't have like I mean, we don't have a guy that travels with us or anything like that. But we pretty much approach it the same way we'd approach an indoor show in terms of, you know, what we're doing with our gear. We might turn our amps up a little bit louder because there's less reflection going on.
Right.
But
Yeah. So you said in the band you play guitar and your lead vocals?
I'm lead vocals primarily with WWJD.
Okay.
With the Quiet Riders, Tuck is primarily lead vocal. I sing a lot of harmonies in that group. Occasionally sing some lead, but yeah, most of my lead duties fall with WWJD.
Is there a go-to warm-up regiment you have to get your voice ready?
Actually there is.
Okay.
which I don't know how many years ago it was that I started to implement any sort of warm-up.
Sure, yeah.
But now I always do. It started with me literally just going on YouTube and searching vocal warm-ups and finding a video that sort of resonated with me, or that I felt like got me to the place that I wanted to be. So it's the same video that I pretty much, I mean, I more or less have the whole routine memorized by now, but I still just like to pull up the video and kind of just follow along with it. But yeah, it starts out with just some yawning to open up your throat and just kind of like loosen everything up, some yawns, and then some light coughs to start to activate the diaphragm, just like light little coughs, not like hurting your throat, but, and then rolling into like some lip rolls. But again, the focus is like primarily on just opening up your voice, relaxing the neck, not getting tight up here, activating down here, so you're singing from your diaphragm. And that's what the lip rolls. If you do a lip roll, you'll notice you get a little bit, you're tightened down here. You're forced to push the air from here. You can't really tighten your neck and do a lip roll. And so there's a whole routine that I follow. But
the YouTubeification of our society is such it needs a Netflix documentary. It needs to be studied. I have some people in my life who take it too far. They think they can fully like without ever fixing a car on their own.
Oh, just
before,
like DIY.
There
is a video for everything.
I'm
going to
open a garage, and whatever I don't know how to fix, I'm just going to look it up on YouTube, which technically could, I guess, probably work if you're a visual learner like that. It's such a I guess, and especially with AI too, that it just you can type in anything and you'll get the results you need. Yeah. Okay. So, well, that's fun. Has there been have there been scares? Like, has your voice gone out like right before a show or?
Not right before a show, but I have had instances where I've just been sick, leading up, and
some people say being sick is better. Like they want to be sick when they're singing because
I've heard that too. I've heard that too. I've always seemed to have gotten through it. I try to just channel my. It's happened a couple times, and the joke that we've made with the guys is that it's like the MJ flu game. If you're a basketball fan, the classic Michael Jordan flu game where he was like sweating and like could barely stand up, but I think he dropped like 45 points or something like that.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've all been. I mean, I think I at one point had to DJ a wedding, and I was like 3 or 4 days. I don't know which phase of COVID I was in, whether I could be around people or not. I won't let them know which wedding it was, but it just you got to do what you got to do. I got to be on stage in 20 minutes. I don't have. There's no one to call. There's no backup. I have the speakers. I have the microphone. So. I'm on my way.
Right. I mean, I guess the point is, or at least the approach I've taken is, you just it's a cliche, but the show must go on. You just you have to do it. I think it would take a lot, at least for me personally, to have to sit out a show.
Yeah.
I would need to be like fully bedridden and like unable to move.
How many, between your projects and bands, I know you're obviously busy running businesses, but how many shows are you doing a year? Is it?
So what I would, I guess, consider my peak, which was pre-children, was like 85 to 90
wow.
total. The past few years,
it's like 2 every weekend.
It's been,
so Friday, Saturday, something. Yeah.
The past 2 years or so, 3 years, it's been more like probably 20 to 25. However, this year in particular actually is the first year I've started to ramp things back up a little bit, ratchet it back up a little bit.
I think everyone is. This year seems, we're going to touch on that in a second, but so just a little bit more. So like what, 30, 40 probably this year for you?
Yeah, I'll probably hit around 40 this year.
Good for you.
If I had to guess.
Good
30,
for you.
Yeah, 30 to 40.
You count Zoe in that number?
I do, yeah. So there's a minimum of baseline of 12 there with Steeler Sundays with the monthly show.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool. It's kind of funny just because I consider myself kind of new to performing music. It's been actually, funny enough, as of last week, it's been exactly 11 years since the first gig I ever played.
There you go. Where was that? Tell me all about it.
Okay. So I'd been playing guitar since, I don't know, when did I start? Maybe I was 12 or so, 11 or 12, something like that. But it wasn't until I was into my mid-20s, post high school, post college, that I ever actually played in a band. And it started when I moved back to Lancaster, and I actually lived for a while like 400 feet like due south of Telus, like that alleyway between the Marriott and Telus. If you walk down that alleyway right across Vine Street, that's where I was. And I moved in there like 2 months, literally 2 or 3 months before Telus got their liquor license and actually became a bar.
Yep.
So like I was there from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And so that place is like, was like a second home for me for a while. But excuse me, after I moved there, Tuck actually moved in with me.
Nice.
And we hadn't been playing together prior. We knew each other, and I'd seen him play. He'd been performing for a long time, even though he was only like 19 at the time. But yeah, we would start jamming together, obviously a little bit at home, and then one thing kind of led to another. We started a band, and it was me, Tuck. It was Tone Tailors' own Tim White,
friend of the show. Lots of friends of the show.
Who played bass, and then another absolute Lancaster legend, journeyman, Tommy Lianza on drums.
Good.
So that was the original lineup of the first band I ever played in, and so obviously I was the least experienced by a long shot.
Right.
Having never played in a band, and
no business,
you have Tuck, who despite being 19 had been performing at the Fulton since he was like single digit age, and was experienced beyond his years. Tim White, who had been playing his whole life. Tommy, I don't even know, was probably playing pushing 50 years at that point. Maybe not literally, but like actually maybe now, maybe currently he's been playing for close to 50 years. So that was nice because it was something I could take some comfort in. Yeah. Like if I was uncomfortable, I had the experience of those guys to kind of lean on.
Back up.
But also nothing accelerated my skill level and ability more than starting to play with other people, playing in a band, but especially playing in that band too. And so that was kind of where it all started. And then, those early days at Tellus were a lot of fun. Up in that front room, they still had that red curtain behind the big, what was a glass wall there. There was a stage up there. And then over the years, I've just played a ton of great shows at Tellus, and being so nearby too, there's been a handful of really cool memories where the city just got dumped on with snow. Tellus remained open for anyone who could walk there. And so there was a handful of us. I remember there was one year, it was me and Tuck, lugged some gear up through the snow. Cordy came. I think Tommy maybe drummed. But yeah, we threw together, a show, and there was just like a bunch of, local crew from Lancaster who walked in through the snow, and I don't know. It's just like there's been a handful of memories like that in those early Tellus days that were really special.
It's so funny. I have my own personal experience with a snow show, and it's such a unique thing. You obviously had 1,000 times way better equipment at your snow show than mine, but we were early 20s. Two of my buddies were rappers, and so Snow Day took his it was one of those boom boxes with the thing, and then 2 square speakers on the side, and then the CD player. But his was unique because it had a 1/4-inch jack on the back, so we could plug in a microphone, pop in the CD with the instrumental on it, and we just had this little $20 Walmart boom box at the park in the middle of the city. My mom was there I don't know how my mom got there, because she lived 20 minutes away, so she must have driven through the snowstorm. We had 5 or 6 other people from the city just walking in, and they rapped the 4 or 5 songs they had, and it was certainly a memory. But yeah, snow show, that's such a unique thing. Yep. So, okay, and so we touched on vocals. You also play the guitar?
I do, yep.
What is your, which guitar in your collection would you say is you put it right up there next to one of your kids, the house is burning down, you grab them, you grab the guitar, which one is it?
So, my favorite guitar is my Eastman.
Okay.
It's a semi-hollow electric Eastman. To be honest with you, I couldn't even tell you the model number offhand because none of their guitars have names. They're all just random letters and numbers.
Half of these, JP sends me a list of 12 guitars, and they all have the same code at the end every single time.
There's an X in there, MX.
Yeah.
Few numbers, something or other, but it's basically I think that it's a similar body size to the Gibson 339, which is a little smaller than the 335. So It's a semi-hollow like that. I believe the wood block inside of it is also a little bit smaller than like what you would see on a 335. So it's a little bit more hollow, so a little bit more resonant. And yeah, that's just like, it feels so comfortable to play.
Yeah.
I love the way it looks. I love the way it sounds, the way it feels. That's my favorite for sure.
Did someone suggest that to you one day? Did it just fall in your lap?
Funny enough, I bought it from a touring pro named Ian Ethan Case, who actually performed a show, I believe, at Tone Tailors on King Street way back in the day.
Look at that. Friend of the show.
And,
so many friends.
And I also booked him to play a show up in the Sugar Tank back in, I don't know, the early, mid 20-teens. Just a virtuosic, like incredible player, did a lot of fingerstyle. But that was one of his guitars, and he played it beautifully. It sounded incredible, and I was a fan of it after seeing him play it. But then I forget how long it was after that show. I saw on Facebook, he posted it up. He was like, "Hey, I'm selling this guitar." And I was like, I have to have that guitar. So
I'll tell you what.
So I bought it from him, and it's been like my primary ever since.
Yeah, well, before he put it on Facebook Marketplace, he should have brought it into Tone Tailors, because we have a great trade-in program, and I even think maybe a promo going on. So if you do have any used gear that you are trying to sell or get rid of, don't put it on Facebook Marketplace. Bring it by the shop at Tone Tailors, give you a quote, and then put it towards, one of these beautiful guitars or other piece of gear on the wall.
That's
Anyways, right. I think the three of us, we need to figure out how we can get the executives of these, because there's like, maybe not all the guitar companies, but the top, like Martin, Taylor, PRS, all these guys. We need to come up with a business or a system or an app or AI or something to name the guitars. Because if there's, I swear to God, if I have to edit one more variation of the Martin D28, I'm going to freak out. And I know another one's coming. As soon as 2027 hits, there's going to be a refresh, and it's going to be the same name, but it's going to have all different specs, and people are going to get confused. It's going to be impossible to know.
Yeah.
But, everyone knows. That's fine. But it's such a fascinating world of, the naming conventions. It's so funny. Okay, so we're grabbing that one out of the fire. What about here at Tone Tailors? We're giving you full range. What's your next pickup here? Are we going electric, acoustic? What's the move?
So the one sound that like I don't have within my current arsenal. I've got the Eastman, obviously. I do have a Gibson ES335 as well.
Right.
I have a Strat, and I've got a PRS Swamp Ash Special. But the Telly would be, I think, the next sound that needs to get, the next arrow that needs to get added into the quiver. So I think I would go Telly.
I feel like I'm just now putting that piece of the puzzle together. You aren't buying the guitar for the brand or style or shape. You're buying it for the sound that you're trying to accomplish. That's okay. I'm not a guitar player, but it's is that how most guitar players? Is that kind of a common thing?
I can't speak for most guitar players. I don't think I've heard
people say it like that.
Speaking for myself, I would say that.
Right.
Like different guitars have varying levels of versatility too, and sort of defining characteristics. But there's a sound that you can get out of the Telly that I wouldn't say I could get out of any of my current guitars. Although I think the versatility of the Telly is pretty underrated.
And for someone who doesn't know, like, what is that more of a heavy sound?
So a lot of people associate the Telecaster with country twang, which it obviously has in spades, and there's a reason why you see so many killer country guitar players playing Tellys. But go listen to Julian Lage play a Telly. Like he's an incredible like jazz and classical like style guitarist, and he plays a telly when he's playing electric. And it does not sound country or twangy in the least, but it sounds beautiful. But yeah, telly's a very surprisingly versatile guitar.
Yeah. So when it comes to live shows, we're kind of in this flux where I feel like 2025 and maybe a little bit into this year was like, I think a high for live shows and music. Have you seen any of this kind of recent news? I think they're calling it the Blue Dot Syndrome. This is where these major artists we're canceling world tours. Post Malone, Meghan Trainor, obviously have not much to do with Lancaster County musicians, but like it's this. If they're not selling out instantly, it's like if there's too many blue dots on the Ticketmaster map, let's just kind of sweep this one under the rug. And I feel like do you feel like that's maybe probably more of a mainstream issue than the local show issue? Or are you seeing more of the opposite, where maybe those blue dots for Post Malone and Meghan Trainor is because we're buying tickets to see, your band, or going to a Zoe show or Tuck Ryan or anyone else in the local area, instead of having to drive all the way to Philly or drive all the way to DC to go to whatever baseball stadium they're performing in. It's an interesting, I think, curious to see where the live music playing goes the next year.
Yeah. So there are a few different factors that come to mind around that whole conversation. One of them just being generally like, macroeconomic in nature. Inflation's been pretty severe post-COVID. Yeah. I mean, cumulative inflation past 6 years is probably pushing. I know it's pushing 30 to 35% for
past
a lot
3
of
months.
Things.
Past 3 months, but we won't talk about it. It's okay. Yeah.
So for one, there's just a lot of pressure, I think, on the average person to make ends meet more than ever in my adult life.
Well, it's expensive. Yeah,
sure.
I mean, when's the last time you've been to a non-local show, like a major?
Yeah. For me, when's the last time I
did?
Well,
probably before.
I've got a whole other set of of circumstances that make it a little challenging for me to get out
Just
and do
kids,
anything.
Probably before the kids.
So I'm upset that it's not coming to mind. It wasn't recent. I'll give you that. You know what? It might have been Fish last summer at the Man.
I keep hearing about Fish.
Well, yeah, you work with John LeClaire.
I know. We talked about it. We talked about Fish. Yes, he was the third or fourth person to bring Fish up in my life, and we have some family friends who are just obsessed. They fly to Mexico, they fly to Vegas, wherever Fish is, they will go to the show. Fascinating. Okay. Fish. No, we and I think John. Where is John LeClaire? He's supposed to get me, I think, a Fish interview on this podcast. He was supposed to reach out to somebody or do something. I don't know. He promises me so many things. Is that him now? Probably. No, speak of the devil. Are you? I know you said that there's.
Yes,
sorry,
but sorry, but the I get the greater sort of conversation around these big major tours that seem to be struggling. I think that for one, just economic factors at play, cost of living, that sort of thing. But the other one that I feel like is, and I don't really, this is something that I can't really reduce to get to the why behind it, but like consumer behavior in general seems to have changed fairly significantly too in the past several years. people seem to, this is my perception, people seem to be a little bit less comfortable than ever being in large crowds.
Yeah.
Being in just in social settings.
Yeah.
In general. It's never been more comfortable to be entertained at home when you have access to the universe at your fingertips.
When they're just live streaming Bieber from Coachella on YouTube, why would I go to Coachella?
What I think would be interesting to see is like bands that maybe are typically playing arenas or stadiums, focus more on slightly smaller, more intimate settings where there's just a little bit more of a intimate connection with the fans. I think that, if you think about a stadium, I don't know depending on how that's set up, they don't always have, all the seats behind the stage filled or whatever, but I don't know, call it like 40,000 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what the percentage would be, but I'm sure of that 40,000 people, there's a lot of people that are just there for a good time.
Yep.
Or are casual fans. They're not there because they're like huge fans of the artist or the music itself.
Yep.
Whereas if you're scaling down to like a 2,000 cap room or even like 500, 600, 700,
those are ride or die.
Everyone that's going to be there is like so. I don't know. I think that could be something that we see more of moving forward is smaller venue shows, but and depending on the act, depending on the economics of what they need to accomplish too, that might actually come with higher ticket prices if there's less tickets, but they need to hit a certain mark. But so, I don't know.
Well, and we just talked about, we just covered that on the episode we dropped yesterday, out now on all platforms, by the way, check it out, Tone Tailors, is that it's almost maybe not a business sense, but just kind of a cognitive kind of maturity as an artist or a band to realize what size audience you have and the size of the rooms that you're trying to play in. Yeah. Like if you can't fill the 200 to 300 people at the Chameleon Club or so or whatever, let's not reach out to them and try to play there. We're going to sell 10 tickets.
And stop getting frustrated that you're not getting booked there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That if you can't...
Right.
At least as the primary act. Right. You know what I mean? If you're trying to play in a 300 or 400 cap room and you can't bring even 100, then maybe change your ask. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look ahead at the calendar. Are there any acts that they have booked several months out that are adjacent enough to your genre where you think,
opener.
You know what, maybe I could reach out and see if they don't have any support booked yet, and I don't know, approach it that way. But
yeah, it's kind of it's a game to try to figure out, okay, where can I go and who can I bring and what kind of space can I fill? Correct me if I'm wrong. If you mentioned this before, I apologize. Is Sugar Tank still open? We're still recording?
So the space is still operational. Like as a studio, it's called Here now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yep.
Duh. Sorry.
So Levi Schlosser would be a great
friend
guy
of the show.
Great guy to connect with as well. Another high school fellow alum.
Yes.
I think it was a year.
And they were doing. He was killing it. I think it was last year, the year before, with his in-house like DJ shows and stuff they were doing over there. Yes. Okay. Here, Sugar. That makes so much sense. So when has there ever been a time or a disconnect where you're writing or working on new music and you go from that phase into the recording studio and there's just like a complete disconnect, like something's not working? Or some just like there's the click that you assumed would be there, just the switch isn't there. Has that ever happened?
where you're referring to like coming into a recording session to lay something down and it's just not happening for you, like you're just not feeling it.
Yeah.
So I haven't done a ton of recording lately. Ironically, the Quiet Riders, we did just record the rhythm for 2 new songs like a few weeks back. But prior to that, I don't think we had been in the studio together. I mean, I at least had not been in the studio for probably 4 years. So it's been a little while. I'm sure it has happened. There's no instances that kind of stick out that like have either scarred me or even necessarily ones that I've learned from enough to have it be like a lesson that's stuck with me.
Yeah.
But what's that? Actually in Jake's garage. Jake has a detached garage at his house that he's kind of his like music space. And we had our buddy Brett Keller, Keller Pro Audio. He brought a mobile recording rig into the garage and we just did it live there.
Mm.
Yeah.
Is that just kind of is that more fun? Like, does that have less stress? Does that have less pressure than to go into a studio like here, Sugar Tank, and just and have it like here's this professional environment. We're probably paying for studio time, or most bands or artists would be, and if we've only got a certain amount of time, we got a few takes, we got to get it right. You're just in your buddy's garage, laying it down, tracking the audio. I'd imagine that's probably more of a fun time.
I wouldn't say so. I mean, I wouldn't say either one is better or worse.
Yeah.
They're just different.
Yeah.
Right. They're just different. And there's a time. I think there's a time and place for any sort of approach. Yeah. And that's just the one that we went with, at least for the rhythm tracks for those 2 tunes. Just wanted to see how it went.
So Quiet Riders' new music coming soon? Just some singles coming out?
Yeah, I don't know what timeline that would be. We don't have one established necessarily. We do have probably like 8 or 9, maybe 10 songs that aren't recorded, some of which we wouldn't have even played live. And I don't know yet whether we're going to try to record them all and put out an album, or if we're gonna do it as like a trickle out a song or two every few months over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. It's still kind of to be determined, but there's material there.
Good.
And it's just a matter of getting everybody together in the room at the same time and making it happen.
I can only imagine.
Which is a whole other challenge.
The scheduling of it's just Allie and Andrew are taking on now is just the scheduling of multiple bands, and if you're doing 4 different jobs a day, so is everyone else, and Tuck and him. That scheduling must be probably is it your biggest challenge as a probably band members, I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean,
it's you get every single person there except freaking Tuck who can't make it, and it's like, what do we do? Just do it without him, but then he's behind.
It's tough. It's tough all the way around, not just for recording, but even just for scheduling shows and I mean everyone in the band plays in multiple projects too, and has a day job of some sort. And in my case, 3 kids. In Josh's case, he and his wife also had a child last August, I believe it was too. So he's kind of in the throes of that himself. So, but it's just, I don't know, it's just like seasons of life. Everything kind of ebbs and flows, and you get real busy with one thing for a period of time. A few other things kind of take a back seat. those scales inevitably tip back the other way at some point. Yeah.
All right, one last question, then we'll wrap this up. Two things. One, you brought us your pedal. It's not working. A little light stopped working. Something's not working. And if that happens to you, ladies and gentlemen, you can bring it in the shop. Guess what? If you have a pedal or a guitar, something's wrong with it, bring it by. Okay, John's going to put it on the bench. JP's going to put it on the bench. We're going to open it up. We're going to take a look at it and hopefully get it fixed for you. Tone Tailors not only offering gear, lessons, and repairs, but just also a good vibe. Come by the shop, hang out. So, favorite pedal for you on your board that you use regularly? What might that be?
Probably delay.
Okay.
I have a Keeley, I think it's called the Keeley Magnetic Tape Echo delay, which I did buy here at Tone Tailors.
Of course.
Well, not here, on King Street at Tone Tailors. Actually, how many of them? Let me see. 1, 2, 3. I think every pedal on my board was bought at Tone Tailors.
I mean, there's no better place.
Yeah, no, that's right. No, that's true.
There's no other place.
Every pedal on my board was bought at Tone Tailors.
Does the other
my Keeley Echo is probably my favorite pedal. I need, you know what? I don't know if this is something that John could do. If he could do a mod to add like an expression pedal to it for one of the knobs. But so on there you've got I don't forget what the knobs are called. You've got the one that adjusts the length of time between the note that's played and when the delay hits, and then you've got the other knob that controls how many repeats happen, how many echoes. There's something that I really like to do, like if we're in the middle of a song that's like kind of getting a little bit jammy and psychedelic and ambient. We're just kind of going out there. If I turn the delays, the number of delays all the way up, so basically it just like never stops, and then also play with the timing knob, it gets this like really cool like feedback sound going, and I just can like kind of tweak this knob a little bit and like make some cool, completely non-guitar sounding sounds.
It's like synthesizer a little bit with your guitar pedal.
But if I could do that like this, and I assume my feet aren't
you need a tappy,
visible,
not a knobby.
But actually an expression pedal.
Yeah.
To be able to control that, because otherwise I'm like hitting a note and then I'm bending down.
You got to bend down and get it.
Doing that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, and I guess my initial thought was, I'm surprised no one just put their pedal board on like a tripod so that they could just do it up here where their hands are while they're playing, but then...
And then just like headbutt the pedal with your
That's not a pedal,
forehead.
Right?
Yeah.
You need to use your foot.
Your nose.
That makes sense. Just kick the pedal off the thing. Okay, well, I'm sure we could we'll talk to John Leclerc. We'll come up with something. I'm sure we could figure something out as far as a something or another. And if not, we create one and then we sell it for millions of dollars. So might as well call it a day. Okay. Well, anything else left we have to promote, talk about? Obviously, any upcoming shows at Zoetropolis? What's going on?
So yeah, there is something that that I do want to mention. So, I'm currently the chairman of the board of
that's right.
a nonprofit in Lancaster called Music for Everyone.
Yes.
I've been involved as a board member for a number of years now, and then as of last spring, I believe it was, assumed the role of chairman, and we are currently in our 20th year in existence. So if you don't know about MFE, our mission from day one has been to just cultivate the power of music as a educational, community building, and wellness tool to transform the lives of the community that we serve, which is Lancaster and the surrounding areas. Well, surrounding areas within Lancaster County. So we have a number of different initiatives. In the past 20 years, we have supported Lancaster County school districts music programs to the tune of a little over $6.5 million. We have
It's not a number to mess around with.
We've put around 15,000 instruments in the hands of students.
Fascinating that the schools we're still having issues with the music programs and funding being cut. That's still a thing these days.
Unfortunately, it's absolutely
what a shame.
Very much still a thing. Despite there's countless research that shows that having robust exposure to music education and music in as a supplement to the other subjects to the educational environment, it results in extremely positive outcomes in terms of test scores, grades, graduation rates, everything. I mean, if you think about the act of performing music and learning about music in the first place, it truly incorporates every other subject. Yep. It's math,
critical thinking,
it's science,
physical,
it's creativity. Yeah. It's such a it's such a powerful.
It's necessary.
Yes. Yeah. And beyond what it can do to really enhance the educational environment. It brings people together. It connects people. It creates opportunities for people to share a moment, share an experience in person. That's like another main initiative that we have. Keys for the City. That's all of those cool pianos that you see us place out throughout town from about May through September. That's all just about creating moments of connection.
Are they functional?
They are fully functional. Yeah. Yep. And again, like I know we touched on the topic before, but it's never been more top of mind for me than since I've become a parent. But just the need for in-person, person-to-person connection and interaction, and the role that music can play in facilitating those types of connections and interactions. When I say I fear that we're losing that, I don't mean that I'm, it sounds more gloom and doom than I mean it to, but like I fear that we'll at least lose sight of the value of that. And yeah, so
I think it's so just kind of extending on that for a second is that especially with your kids and the world you're in, I'm going to assume that you are going to do everything in your power to introduce them to and teach them about and guide them on the correct paths of music and art and entertainment. Whereas in a world that they're growing up in, they just need to be able to type out the song they want, click a button, and now they've got a full EP on their laptop ready to go for Spotify in 30 minutes. So I'd imagine that's probably going to be a challenge for you as a father here coming in the next few years. But not only you personally, but that's kind of the challenges that the Music for Everyone is kind of taking on. Is this what we are seeing is this kind of absence from music and that education in certain industries, or at least the school system?
I mean, it's been sort of commoditized too, in a way that it never has been before. If you think about it, like functionally, music and the consumption of music almost behaves more like a utility than an art form. You pay. It's like your electric bill. You pay your bill every month. You get electricity to your house. All you need, unlimited, access to electricity. You pay your whatever it is, $12, $13 a month to whatever service you use, and you just have unlimited access to whatever music you want. And there's arguments for both sides of that, for sure. I mean, there's value in that. There's value in the access it provides, the exposure. But I would be hard pressed to find an argument against against the fact that it sort of also cheapens and devalues the experience.
Yep.
And I don't really know what the answer or solution is to that. But that's sort of the way I see it right now. It doesn't feel like the way.
Yeah.
Whatever the way is probably involves some way of like cultivating a smaller, very dedicated following versus like aiming for mass exposure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope to see a shift back the other direction. Trends and behaviors in general, styles, everything, it's a constantly swinging pendulum.
Yeah.
Trends and behaviors come and go, and they swing way over to this side for a period of time, and then people kind of get sick of it, and a little bit of resistance to that starts to percolate and bubble up a little bit, and then you feel it swing back the other way. And I if I can put my optimist lens on for a minute, I have to believe that there's going to be a swing back the other way, and I would hope to believe we haven't reached some sort of point of no return.
I'm assuming in regards to
regards to all of this, in regards to how we consume and view and value music and art in general, and the role that plays in just general human connection, and sort of the importance of those things. I mean, that's something that I'm definitely going to be trying to impart on my own kids.
Yep.
Knowing that is going to be a little bit hard because they'll probably be a little bit like in the minority.
Yeah.
Compared to like the rest of their classmates.
You said under 4, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, oh my God. So by the time your kids are teenagers, we were going to have to sit down with the wife and have a conversation on whether or not we're chipping them or not. Like, are we putting the Neuralink in the temple of the boy, or are we? Because 6 of his classmates have it and they're thriving. They were nonverbal autistic kids before, and
it's basically just we're halfway there. It's just taking this and then going like that. Put it in there.
Yeah, and and then how do you, once that happens, how do we control any of that? What you think after that we're going to be able to sit the kids down and be like, okay, well, here's how you hold the guitar and here's how you plug in the microphone. They're going to be like, that what? I can just think it and my voice will project. Or like, why do I need to, like, I have the riff on my computer already. Like,
yeah, it's scary. Again, I feel like I have to believe that there's never going to be a replacement for real human emotion and an experience that comes through in art and in music and in lyrics that are written. Like, there's some things that I feel like no matter how advanced computers or artificial intelligence gets, like, there's certain human experience that can never be completely synthesized. And my hope would be that the folks who are consuming music intentionally and presently are able to decipher what's real and genuine from what's artificial and sort of synthetic.
Well, we're already on the fence. I mean, I every week I send a message to my mother telling her to please delete Facebook because it is she's gotten a $8,000 gazebo for $9 off of a Facebook ad that mysteriously never showed up to the house. She's sending me videos on stuff for my son that are fake. She's sending me like just AI generated ad. It's bad. It's so bad. And I would hope, I mean, when you might know, JP might know, like we've like have Martin and Taylor and all these places, they've been around since what, 60s, 70s, probably maybe beyond that.
Earlier for sure for Martin. I'm not sure about Taylor.
Okay, yeah.
Martin's like 1800s, right? Martin's like 1880, yeah, 1883.
1883. So, I mean, the guitar has certainly survived the tech industry thus far. I mean, obviously, as we can see, the tech has been adopted inside of them. I mean, do you think it's going to be like, okay, here, last real quick fun question, then we're out of here. Do you think it'll eventually, I mean, it might already exist, but like, where they could just release an AI guitar. It looks just like this, except it doesn't matter where you put your fingers on the strings. It knows about where they should be and what you're trying to do. So then it'll just autocorrect, and that's going to be the output through the system.
It may go to the point where it's just like a preferential thing. It's like what do you prefer? And I don't know why this is the analogy that's popping into my head, but I think it's a good one. And I'm not like a huge fan necessarily of snowboarding, but like I know enough about it. But there's this conversation in snowboarding right now, in competitive professional snowboarding, where it's suddenly gotten away from style and it's just all about who can do the most spins and land the trick clean.
Right.
It's just it's not it's all technical, no style. Right. So I mean, you're describing something that it can create something that is technically perfect, but it's the style, it's the little inflections, the little micro bends, that's what I think resonates with me. And hopefully, there comes a time where it's like, yeah, that's cool, it did everything perfect, but like I don't feel anything. It's not eliciting any emotion out of me. Versus this.
Yeah. Isaiah Pugh, another friend of the show, they said that if their songs or their album or their show or whatever they put out is 90%, 95%, 97%, great. That means they did their best, and that's what they have produced because that's their skill set now. And even with like if AI can take it to 100, why? Because it's that extra 5 to 6% is just those inflections. It's just that grammar mistake, maybe a little spelling error here or there. Maybe you're off key for a moment, and boop, now it's perfect. Well, guess what? When they show up and they hear you live at Zoetropolis and it's not perfect because you use AI to upload to Spotify, well, then what happens? Now,
well, hopefully they like it better because it feels real and it feels human and it feels relatable. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think that imperfection is like it's where you find like the authenticity in whatever it is that you're consuming or listening to. It's I think it's kind of if you're striving for perfection in anything, I think you're just going to drive yourself crazy and iterate and over iterate, and you need to decide when good enough is good enough. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting times right now. Definitely interesting times ahead. I haven't lost hope yet. Good, personally. Good. I don't know what it would take necessarily. Try not to go there, but there's a way forward. I think that we can look back on this time as like maybe a little bit experimental, but ultimately found our way. The way that we're doing it right now is definitely not it.
Most people made it from analog to digital just okay. So
feeling the freedom too to stretch a song out a little bit and explore it and like do something interesting versus like, I don't know if you've noticed this too or if you've been aware, but if you actually look, like since streaming has become the standard, like song lengths have significantly shortened.
Oh, they're 2 minutes. They're 2.5 maybe if we're lucky.
Attention spans are shot, unfortunately, for a number of reasons. But like, if you're trying to maximize your streams, why would you do a 7-minute song if you could do 3 2-minute songs?
Yep. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that there's a better way to do it. I don't know what it is yet, but we'll figure it out.
Well, yeah, once we figure it out, we'll have you back on. Matt, thank you so much for your conversation today. I mean, everything from Zoetropolis to music, the bands, fatherhood, working. I'd imagine you probably got to get out of here and get to at least 3 other jobs. So thank you so much for joining me here in person on the couch today. We're going to have everything that Matt does linked down in the description below. And if you're in the central Lancaster, even central PA area, make sure you check out Zoetropolis. Get a drink, get something to eat, see a show, see a movie, whatever they got going on there this week. Links to their site, of course, in the description below as well. Matt, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's been a great time.
Yeah,
thanks, man.
Likewise.